and just appreciating where you've what you've offered to our viewers and to me with this conversation. And it makes me think of how systems of oppression, decontextualization is a huge part of that, where and I've learned from Resma Menakem's work that that idea of when trauma is decontextualized in a community, it looks like culture. When trauma is decontextualized within a human body, it looks like personality. And so when I think about yoga and how, how when it's disconnected from its roots and the sources, and I've talked to you about how I, in my own community here, I'm seeking a yoga practice that really is rooted in the origins and the ancestry upon which it is founded. And I rarely see that mention of, like, there may be a mention of like mantras and om and namaste, but there's no reference to what are those. They're not just catchphrases. These are sacred words in our language, in our culture, our religion. And so I've been, as I go on my healing journey, and the deeper I get, I am seeking that alignment more and more, and not finding something local. And I'm really open to viewers. If you know of spaces, I'm totally open to hearing about them, and hoping that this is if there's other conversations that stem out of this, I would love to have them. Um, I wanted to read your quote, if that's okay, from this book, because and just to kind of engage with your quote. And I think it builds on some of the things you've been offering in our conversation. But I was, so affected by this book, and then to see that you were in it was just like, my goodness. um, so you offer on the chapter that's actually called "On White People Co-opting Yoga." It's page 144, 145, where you say, I think about Ayurveda, how there are different constitutions and what suits one may not suit another, but that too is part of our indigenous wisdom, a variety of practices for all the different needs. What is colonizing about the way Western yoga is usually taught is that it treats all human bodies as if they were the same or based on some idealized human body. I think the indigenous approach respects the vast diversity of creation while maintaining a grounding in the underlying unity. The colonized viewpoint is kind of the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Leena. When I saw the quote, I felt like I needed to maybe explain that last line a little bit. I was like, oh, I wish I could have added a line to that. So yeah, as I said, right, like yoga is about unity, and most yoga teachers will talk about that, right? That yoga means union. But yoga is about unity on that fundamental spiritual level, but it really does, the practices really do respect the diversity of creation, right? Like even, in our sort of religious traditions, right? There's this idea that like the one divine consciousness can manifest in many, many, many different forms, right? And that's the way nature is, the way the creation is. Like there's not only one type of flower, there's not only one type of herb, right? Like there's vast, 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 immeasurable diversity in creation, right? And all indigenous cultures understand that and respect that diversity, and at the same time understand that there's an underlying unity, right? But the colonized perspective has it backwards, really, right? It tends to treat all bodies, like Western medicine treats like all bodies as if they're the same, like all human bodies, right? That's why like when you see those I don't know if you have this in Canada, those advertisements for drugs, pharmaceuticals, and then there's like a huge list at the bottom of potential side effects. my daughter loves to make fun of those ads, because one drug is going to interact with different bodies in different ways, right? So that's why you have such a array of side effects that are possible. with this one drug because it's interacting with different bodies. But Western medicine is like, oh, you have this problem, here's the drug. And you might experience, explosive diarrhea, but or this or that or that, So yeah, it's the colonized approach is to separate the spirit, to treat the spirit as separate, right? But to treat the body as if they're all the same or based on some idealized body, which is completely backwards.